thank you all for joining. This is an exciting webinar, and we're excited to share some tips on using LinkedIn and winning new business today. So just to take you all back to how Kurt and I got introduced, really started last year. I was at one of our school customers, and I was at an open enrollment meeting. One of the new teachers gets up and says, "Hey, Chris, I looked you guys up online, and I looked at one of your recent social media posts on LinkedIn. You only got a few likes, and my dog, when I post a picture of my dog, I actually get more likes than your company does." So I thought about that, and I'm like, well, we're an insurance savings company, right? I'm not sure we'll ever beat that teacher's dog picture, but we certainly needed to revisit and look into how we were selling ourselves online and our company's digital presence. So we really turned to one of our trusted advisors. We talked to Jen Walsh from Genuine Shift, and she recommended that we speak to Kurt and his team at Vingresso, and they helped us late last year into early 2020 really to do a full LinkedIn makeover and really rework our digital presence and the way that our account team and sales team talk to customers online. It's really helped the difference card, and we wanted to share some of those best practices with our best broker partners. So thank you all for joining today. And it's about how do we continue to tell our story and win new business using a digital strategy. So it's still about saving customers money on their health insurance from a difference card winning perspective. We can still win a lot of business that way, but we need to speak to our customers in a different way, right? We can't be physically in their office like we used to be. So we need to shift and use digital strategies that Kurt's going to talk about today to get in front of customers and still continue to win new business. So Kurt, take it from there.
All right, great. Thanks, Chris. Okay, guys, this is what we're going to cover on the call today. Hopefully this is going to meet your expectations in terms of what you saw on the registration page. So we're going to start off talking just about the current business environment that we're all operating in. We're going to share with you 8 specific LinkedIn techniques that we've seen help people build their business. And then we'll offer some additional resources at the end. So stick around to the end. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on in the current environment. So we're going to talk about 4 factors, and then none of these should be a surprise, right? If you've all been living in the digital world, none of these should be a surprise. But we want you to think about them as you are approaching and doing outreach to prospects. So the first thing is obviously everybody, we're in a digitally connected world. This was a slide that we really used even last year pre-COVID, and obviously it's just accelerated immensely since the quarantines and everything else we've adapted to. Socially connected as well, socially in terms of networks. Here you're seeing a bunch of the different social networks that are represented today. We're going to focus on LinkedIn as really the prime business to business social network. Everyone is also very mobilely attached. I'm sure if anyone reached out their arm right now, they're going to have at least a smartphone within arm's reach, if not, a laptop, a Apple Watch, their desktop, etc. So you may have 3 or 4 digital devices all in front of you right now. And the last one, maybe this is the one that's a little bit more of a surprise, is that the people in general, we can start with consumers, but every business person is also a consumer first and foremost. So people are video hungry. We've gotten used to consuming short little videos, whether it's, a how-to about how do I, fix the burner on my grill this Saturday morning, to, hey, how do I, get the latest healthcare benefits. They're going to be in tune with the times. So those are factors that we want to look at as you think about your buyers. Now, let's get a little more specific talking about your buyers. So this was a quote that I heard a C-level executive say when he was on a panel and somebody asked, hey, how does a new vendor get in front of you or get your attention or get on the approved vendor list and that type of thing. And he said, hey, if you want to reach me, forget about cold calls or email. You either have to get introduced by somebody I know or post something that catches my eye. And again, these days, this year, because of the pandemic, a lot of those people are still at home, which just compounds that outreach and that connection and that access. So this is really the issue we're addressing on today's webinar. So if you look at what that C-level executive, that business owner said, he really mentioned two ways to start this sales conversation, right? To begin a relationship. So the first one was, hey, get introduced. Well, get introduced is a tried and true sales development technique, right? Probably if you've been in sales for more than a month, you know about the power of the Rolodex and the networks and referrals and introductions and all of those things. And sometimes we can consider that to be an outbound prospecting. So that's a very proactive type of activity on the seller's behalf, where they're going to probably leverage their network to try and get introduced to a particular prospect, much as Chris just described how I got connected into talking to him. And the difference card was through a common connection that was working with the difference card, and it actually worked with me in the past, right? So that one is a very accepted, well-known sales technique. But the other way that business owner said to get their attention to start a sales conversation was to post something that catches your prospect's eye. Now, posting content to attract prospects, I mean, that sounds like a marketing thing, a marketing activity. And in fact, the general activity is sometimes called inbound marketing. But here's the new part of it. The new part of it is we're talking about the activity practiced by the individual broker. So not relying on, so your company's still going to do that. Your company's still going to do the marketing things that they do. Yes, absolutely. But in the age of social networks, each broker has at their disposal the LinkedIn network to post content to raise their individual visibility and credibility and be recognized in their market as a subject matter expert and have people reach out to them. So those are the two things we're going to be talking about today. And obviously LinkedIn is very well suited for both of those activities. Both of those activities, the end objective always to start a new conversation with a qualified prospect. It's just that there's two ways to do it. That's what we're going to be talking about. So first thing that we want to do is kind of get a feel from the people that are on the line right now. And Dan, if you want to queue up our poll, I'll just introduce it here. So what we want to ask you guys is, how do you use LinkedIn right now? And this is a multiple select poll, meaning there's 4 different activities there. If you do 2, if you do 3 of them, if you do 4 of them, any of those, click which ones. We'll take this a minute and then we will look at the results. So I'm not seeing the poll. Is the poll up? Maybe I'm not seeing because I'm a host. Daniel, you're on mute. Is the poll up?
No, not yet, Kurt.
Hey, sorry, guys.
Gotta launch it.
There we go. All righty. Give you guys a moment here to think about it. Here, we'll give you the background info. Maybe about 5 more seconds, and we'll see. All right, let's go ahead and close the poll. Looks like we've got quite a few of the people. Let's go ahead and close it and then share the results. All right, so here we go. What have we got? How are people using it? So half of you guys are using it to promote your own brand. More than half find new prospects. 3/4 to grow your network. Good for you. And almost half are sharing content to attract prospects. So great job. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share and let's roll on. So good to see we've got a pretty good representation of using the different techniques. I hope you're going to take away some new ones here from this webinar. So before we jump into these 8 different techniques, I want to bring up one idea here if you don't know about it. So LinkedIn has this thing called the Social Selling Index. The Social Selling Index is something that each of LinkedIn's 675 million members can all see about themselves. It is not public. No one else can see your social selling index, but you can see your social selling index. Let me see. It's a number between 0 and 100. It's made up of 25 points each in 4 different categories, which you're seeing here on the screen. So the first one is about establishing your brand. We just asked you guys about that. The next one is about finding the right people, which is really a prospecting activity. The next one is about engaging with insights. That's the one that has to do with sharing content. And then the last one is about building relationships, which would be about your connections, your network. I think that was the one that had 3/4 of the people. So that was the one that the most of you guys were doing. So it's a very good way that it's a metric that you can use. It's sort of like the FICO score is for your credit worthiness. This is indicating, how active on LinkedIn, how complete, how advanced maybe are you on LinkedIn. So you can use this if you take a snapshot of your number now and you pledge to maybe apply some of these 8 techniques. You could take a look at it in 3 or 4 weeks, see what kind of progress that you've made. So with that in mind, I want to give everybody a chance to actually find their own social selling index. And so if you go to this URL, you can just bounce over and open up another tab in your browser. And what we like to invite everybody to do is just find out what your social selling index is. And Danny, if you can post the URL in the chat, that'll make it easier for people. They could just click on the link right in the chat window. Or you can type it in either way. And this way you'll get that number for yourself between 0 and 100. Type it into chat. We'll kind of see where people are, and then we'll jump into these 8 techniques. So again, we're going to give you guys a little bit of chance to jump in, see where you are right now with social selling index. And then after we take a look at that, we'll jump into some of the techniques. So let's see, what are we getting here? I'm seeing some pretty good scores. I'm seeing some 50s, 60s coming in, 48. Those are all good scores. I would say in general, if we broke it down, if it's 0 to 25, you're probably not real active in LinkedIn. If you're 25 to 50, that definitely shows you are doing something on LinkedIn, probably making some progress in it. If you're above 50, that's actually being fairly active on LinkedIn. And if you're above 75, then I'm going to call you a LinkedIn geek. You're really into LinkedIn. So we're seeing some pretty good scores from people along the way. Thank you guys for playing along. Let's keep going because we got a lot of techniques we want to cover. And you can continue to go ahead and report them in the chat. That's fine. Okay, so this is the framework we're going to go through. This is what Vengreso calls the 6 phases to modern selling. It's really about how do you leverage LinkedIn to grow your business. And we're going to focus on skills 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those are really the only skills that are represented in this chart. Number 1 and number 6 are just mechanisms to really reinforce training that would apply to any process. So again, in this case, we're going to start with number 2, which is the first skill. So the first skill has to do with brand. And in the case of LinkedIn, brand means LinkedIn profile. So why is it important to have a professional looking profile? As Chris said, right, everybody at the difference card 6, 7 months ago went through this LinkedIn profile makeover service that we had, right, to really make them look all sexy on LinkedIn, get really make sure they're telling their story, they're displaying their value. Why is it important? It's important because your prospects look at your LinkedIn profile before deciding whether to engage with you. So the question is, what is your digital brand saying about you? More important than ever in this age of, most face-to-face meetings have been eliminated 6 or 7 months, not a lot of conferences, trade shows, business networking events going on. So the digital brand is really important. So this is a quote from one of our clients about the power of the brand. So they said they won a health and wellness contract that all started when a prospect noticed their upgraded LinkedIn headline and reached out to the broker. So in other words, that was an inbound inquiry that came in all based on the person's headline. Now, I've got a pop quiz for you. Before the person that made that quote did their LinkedIn profile makeover, their headline, which goes right under their name in LinkedIn, used to say Vice President. Now, if you just look at that, it's pretty hard to tell what that person does, who they help, and how they help them. If I hadn't given you the hint earlier through the quote, you would be very hard pressed to answer those questions. What does this person do? Who do they help? How do they help them? So they re-engineered their LinkedIn headline above and beyond just a title, and they changed it to, I help fast growth tech companies hire and retain top talent via attractive benefit programs. Now, you can see in that comment that who do they help? Fast growth technology companies. So they're very focused on a particular client type. What do they help them do? Hire and retain top talent. How do they do it? Through benefit programs. So if you're a business leader, HR executive, something in a fast growth high tech company, and you're having a hard time hiring and retaining talent, like the person in this quote, then that's going to attract you to want to reach out to this person, find out more. And in fact, it actually resulted in one business. So again, I'm just going to show you guys, I'm just going to jump over here to make sure you guys see the different types of elements in here. So what you're looking at right now it's a LinkedIn post, obviously, right? If I was to scroll here, I've got all sorts of different posts. So here's a post from Rachel Wilburn, one of the folks at the Difference Card that went through this program. So what I'm talking about is that her headline, which says Reinventing Health Insurance to Provide Cost-Effective Benefit Plans, her headline follows her everywhere around LinkedIn. If she posts something like the promotion for this webinar, if she shows up on a list, if she comments on somebody else's thing, everywhere Rachel shows up on LinkedIn, it's got her professional headshot, it's got her name, and it has her headline. In the case of the example I showed you, the headline here won the person business. It started the process because they were interested in what she had here. If we take that to the next step and we actually look at Rachel's profile, because that's what the person's going to do, they're going to click there and come through the profile. Here we're seeing that she's got the branding, she's got her full headline described right there. If we were to expand this, she's got a very well-developed about section that tells the story. So those are kind of some of the elements that are coming through on a professional looking profile. So that's technique number one. So the test for you is if you, we're paraphrasing here Samuel L. Jackson and his credit card tagline, what's in your wallet? In this case, what's in your headline? If you go and look at your LinkedIn headline right now, is it instantly obvious who you help and how you help them? Those are the two ingredients that you want to have in your profile. Who do you help and how do you help them? Do you help manufacturers, food service people, nonprofits, schools, state agencies? Who do you help and how do you help them? Now, the second feature, remember you get 2 tips in each of the 4. So the second tip for the branding section is jazz up your profile with featured media. Okay, featured media. Again, if I jump over and look at Rachel's profile here and I scroll, you can see she's got some elements here. She's got a featured media. She's got a YouTube video. Actually, these are both YouTube videos in her case. If we jumped over to Troy, he's going to have some different, so he's got a different piece of media here. This is another video. So these are all assets that the Difference Card Media marketing team has created. And now the sales consultants are actually giving this content more value by showing up on their LinkedIn profile. So it's a great way to showcase that content. Again, we can see people here. Here's Cecile, and she's using a different asset right over here in the profile. So they don't have to be the same, right? These aren't all cookie cutters. In fact, if you're really paying attention, all three of these people had different headlines. They all have different headlines. However, they look like they work for the same company because they do work for the same company. So that's sort of part of the idea. So you can leverage media. What can you put in that featured section? A lot of different things. You can put your own LinkedIn posts or articles. You can put links to your company web pages. You can put images in there. You can put documents, Word documents, PDFs. You can put videos like we've seen in this example. So the question to ask yourself is, what assets do I have at my disposal, likely from your company, on the web page, as a PDF, as a YouTube video, could I put in there that's going to add value to my professional brand on LinkedIn? Okay, that is number one. Let's get to number two, find and engage. This is the prospecting aspect of using LinkedIn. So how can that benefit? Here's another example. Client told us, hey, an HR director they were connected to just started a new job. So it showed up in the notifications section of LinkedIn. So the broker reached out to offer congratulations on the new job, start a conversation that end up uncovering a health insurance opportunity. So again, it's all about just finding these trigger events that are excuses for you to actually reach out, start a conversation with the person. So this is just a screenshot of the notifications section. I'm just going to jump back over here into LinkedIn to look at the real notifications section. So if I actually come back to my LinkedIn homepage, which is the default page you're going to log into, I'm just going to come over to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth icon over here called notifications. I'm going to click on it, and it is just flush with trigger events for you to reach out to people. It's going to talk about people that viewed your profile. It's going to talk about people that commented on your post. It's going to talk to you about people that are having birthdays today or ones that are starting new positions. So this is a great one. This is a somebody I'm connected to. It's a prospect. He's a sales leader at a company. Guess what? He just changed jobs. So this is a tremendous opportunity for me to come in, say, hey, congratulations on the new job. What excites you the most about it? What are you looking forward to? Start a conversation, right? Just like the person that we just saw. So that's the notifications section as one type of prospecting that you can do just by listening to those trigger events that LinkedIn tells you. Hey, Daniel, I'll just say to you, if there's any questions that come in through chat that people have real specifically, let me know. Maybe we'll have a little time at the end also answer them, but sometimes it's easier to do, when it happens.
Okay.
Okay, guys, the next tip that I'm going to give you about prospecting on LinkedIn, I'm going to give you a tip using the for pay feature of LinkedIn called LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I realize everyone doesn't have LinkedIn Sales Navigator, but I wanted to be fair. I know we have some sophisticated LinkedIn users on this call. I saw some of those SSI scores up in the 70s. So again, in covering a webinar to hundreds of people that have a wide range of skills, I want to make sure that also the advanced people get something to take away. So the next tip is going to be only possible if you are using the LinkedIn Sales Navigator for fee part of LinkedIn. Just let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. Just give me a yes or a no in the chat. Do you use Sales Navigator, LinkedIn Sales Navigator? So we'll just take a look at that. I'll get a feel for it. Again, just so you know, we don't work for LinkedIn. We're a separate, independent consulting company. So we don't gain anything by if you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator. I will say it's a fantastic prospecting tool. If you're really in the mode of building your book of business and you are doing a fair amount of prospecting, it is a fantastic tool. If you're kind of more in just maintaining a certain number of accounts, you probably don't need it because it's really a high-powered prospecting tool, I would say. All right. So thank you guys. We got some feedback here. I'm just going to go ahead and, I'll show the next slide, but I'm just going to actually skip right by this because it's so much, it means so much more to actually see it happen live. So let me, I'm going to jump over into real LinkedIn Sales Navigator. You'll see it's a different looking screen. It's a different app, right? Here's regular old LinkedIn. Here's LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Yes.
Sorry for interrupting you, but can you give like a brief explanation in which you can tell the people here what is like the main difference between Sales Navigator and LinkedIn? Because some of these people don't have Sales Navigator, and there's some few that pay for Sales Navigator, but they don't know what they can do and okay, what actually can be achieved on that one.
Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate that answer right now. I would say the main difference is Sales Navigator gives you a much more powerful search capabilities. When I say more powerful, it gives you a lot more variables that you can search on and a lot more information about the results. So this is the takeaway here. Imagine I was a benefits consultant. So you can see here, I've got, probably about 15 different things that I can search on. In free LinkedIn, you have maybe 8 or 9. So what I would say is, let's say I work for the difference card. So I'm going to say, I'm looking for people in the United States. I'm going to say, I'm looking for C-level, and I'm going to go down to the VP level. I'm going to say, so you've got all these different criteria, right? So I could say, I like to work in the mid-market with companies that have between 200 and 5,000 employees. And let's see, I might come in here and say, actually, let's say maybe I work in a state. That would probably make it more realistic for you guys. I'm going to say, I'm going to zero this just into California. So it says I got 160,000 of people that fit this criteria. Now, obviously, I might want to zero that down to an industry. Let's say I work in the high-tech industry. I want to say computer, software, and computer hardware, let's say. All right. So let's say I work a lot. I'm in California. I'm looking for C-level people in the tech industry and mid-sized companies. Okay. So it tells me there's 9,000 of them. That's a gigantic pool. But here are some of the things you only get in LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So think of this from a prospecting standpoint, how valuable it would be. First off, it's telling me these are the 536 people who changed job in the last 90 days. Super important for a seller, because more than likely if they've only been there 90 days, they're not stuck in that we've always done it that way. Quite the contrary, they were probably brought in to change things. So that's a great way to filter. I can also see that 48 of those people were mentioned in the news in the last 30 days, which again is a tremendous trigger event, reason to reach out. I could click through that. I could see what they were mentioned. I could reference that in my outreach to them. Chances are good that I are increasing my chances of going along. 2,000 of those have posted on LinkedIn. Again, this is really probably too big. I should narrow my filter. Maybe I should call it, let's say maybe I'm just working San Francisco, because probably most people might be working, a metro market. So let's make these numbers a little more realistic. 45 mentioned in the news, 1.5 thousand posted on LinkedIn. Here's a super important one way over here. There's only one, right? What did I start with? Over 6,500 people. One of them is following my company page on LinkedIn. If you see this, guys, this is a tremendous intention signal. If this person is following my company, wow, the chance, you can see I'm not connected with them. So this is a tremendous opportunity for me to uncover somebody that would show up. So those are some of the ideas of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's just a more powerful searching tool. Okay, we're halfway there. Let's get on and talk about your network. Your network. How do you grow your network on LinkedIn, which is so important to getting those introductions, remember. So again, here is a client comment. I saw a former coworker was connected to one of my top prospects, right? Whenever you're looking at a prospect's profile on LinkedIn, if they show up as a second level to you, that means it's going to tell you who you have in common. So in this case, when the broker called to ask the common connection for an introduction, the common connection said, sure, I'll send an introductory email and copy you on it. Everybody knows, like, before social networks, before the internet, before email, before computers, getting a personal introduction into a prospect, often the best way to start a sales cycle. It still holds true in our digital age. And LinkedIn tells you who you have in common. It doesn't get much easier than that. So the whole idea there is to grow your network with the right kinds of people. It is a quantity and quality game, right? You want to grow, you want to have as many as the right kind of people in your network. And we're going to talk about what are those right kind of people in a minute. But the idea is, as you grow your first level connections, that means your second and third level connections by default are going to grow and increases the chances for introductions. It increases the pass along rate when you're sharing content, all of those good things. Why is it important? As every year goes by, I think it's the Conference Executive Board does this, or Corporate Executive Board does this study every year of how many people are involved in the typical B2B decision. And the number has gone up every year since they've done this study. So we advise that for a full-time B2B seller or business development person, you should have at least 1,000 LinkedIn connections. Again, if you are actively prospecting, if you are actively building your book, if you are not just managing or maintaining a small number of set accounts, but you're actually actively prospecting, you should have 1,000 LinkedIn connections. Now that often blows people's mind. They're like, oh my gosh, I've only got 252. Where are all these people going to come from? Well, here's some of the places they come from. And just, we call these, the centers of influence, to just think about, am I maximizing all these centers of influence? Your customers, not just one person at the customer, but probably 6.8 people at that customer. So customers, prospects, partners, your referral sources. Partners would include vendors also. Your coworkers, your current coworkers, your past coworkers, networking groups, business groups, industry associations. alumni of your college or university. There is a incredible strong affinity that people have for somebody that went to their same college, even if they graduated 25 years apart. There's like this natural affinity that they have. And finally, not finally, actually, there's probably another 20, but this is the top 10. Who viewed your profile? That's a great way to grow your network. Who is looking at you? Particularly as you get more active on LinkedIn, you're going to see more people are viewing your profile. This is what that page looks like. Probably better just to go over there. So if I come back to look at my homepage on LinkedIn, okay, it is going to tell me exactly right over here who has viewed my profile. And again, it gives a lot of insights into this. It'll tell you a little bit about, hey, are you trending up or down? Are you steady? Are you being more popular? But there's also different filters. So this is the list of everybody that's been viewing my profile. And I bet if I stopped and looked at this, I'd have a lot of benefit consultants, because you guys have all been hearing about this webinar over the last few weeks. But again, in the area of interesting filters, here's a very interesting one for me. It says that 20 people from a company called C.H. Robinson have all looked at my profile. Now, again, that is a trigger event. I have to ask myself, why would 20 people from one company all be looking at my profile? Now, I've already found out the answer to that, because I connected to a few of them and I said to them, hey, 20 people have been viewing my profile. Why is that? And they said, oh, digital selling is a big push for us now in the COVID quarantine era. And our vice president of sales, who's connected with you, suggested that we all connect with you to follow your content. So there you go. You want to look at who is viewing your profile, and are there people here that you want to connect with? Are there people here that could be a partner, could be a referral source, could be a prospect for you, et cetera, et cetera. So that is looking at who's viewed your profile. Again, and remember, gang, we're recording all this. We'll send you guys the recording in a couple of days. So if you're frantically trying to scroll these 10 down, again, you're going to have the recording all in a couple days in the email. Okay, and then the last thing that we want to look at here, again, remember I gave you that number of 1,000 LinkedIn connections. So I want to ask you guys again to take a little self-assessment of yourself. Come in here to the network section of LinkedIn. And right at the very top, it gives you a long list of different stats about yourself. But go ahead and tell us, how many LinkedIn connections do you have right now? Don't be intimidated by the 21,000, guys. This is my business. I do it 25 hours a week for the last 9 years. So 21,000 is a lot. But go ahead, again, go into your LinkedIn, just go look right up here at the second tab called My Network, and it's going to tell you the number. Type that into chat, and we'll give you some searching music. Oh, I'm seeing some people's in the thousands. That's pretty good. Daniel, you can eyeball them. We'll let this go for a few more seconds. Maybe you can eyeball them in 5 seconds and tell us what the high water mark is.
So far we had one person, I think is hold on, is Robert Bravo, who has 2,500 connections. Oh, hold on, we got someone with 3,000. Chris Bullock, 3,061 contacts. Wow.
That's great. That's good stuff. All right, so let me jump back here. We are right on time. We're tracking. We're 3/4 of the way through. Hey, if you want to get one more connection, send me an LinkedIn invite if we are not already connected. Make sure though you send me a custom invite and mention you saw me on the Difference Card webinar. Do that and I'll send you a special little extra ebook that I think you'll like. So make sure and send me that custom invite, mention the Difference Card webinar. Okay guys, 3/4 of the way there. The last thing we're going to talk about is feeding your network. Remember way back, we started 40 minutes ago, and that business owner said, you either have to get introduced or post something that catches my eye. That's number 5. We're talking about feeding your network relevant information that they're interested on through LinkedIn to raise your visibility and credibility as a subject matter expert in employee benefits. So let's go. How does it work, right? What's a success story? Here's one from a broker that said, a CFO liked my post about virtual open enrollment. Very timely topic. I thanked him and asked, hey, what prompted it? He said, it's been a hot topic with the company's board right now, and that we now have a call set up next week to discuss their requirements. So again, if you want people to know about you, you want to be visible on LinkedIn, you want to be posting information, you want to be adding valuable content, and it's a great content distribution source for you to showcase your expertise. Don't keep it a secret. Okay, there's 3 types of content that you can share. The last one's a pretty high bar, but we're going to walk you through it. The easiest one, this is really an order of how tough they are, I guess. So the first one is, if you just share your own company's content, whatever your company is posting on your LinkedIn company page or on your company blog, you just go in and grab that information, share it. But it would be nice to put your own little spin on it so that you're weighing in, adding some of your own value from your experiences, all the better. But here's an example of a post from the Difference Cards LinkedIn company page talking about their new smart mobile app. So in this case, we would expect everybody from the Difference Card has already shared this content. So that's kind of the table stakes. Now, the next step up would be to share industry news. So you don't want to just look like your company blog and only share your own company's information. As you are a broker in your particular market, right, your customers are going to be looking to you for what's happening in the industry, what are trends, what else do I need to know about? And so you might be getting information from, I don't know, it could be different carrier, it could be employee benefit news, it could be whatever industry websites and things like that you get information from, but they might be general trends like this particular article. So there's industry news. Now, the last level, which I always tell people, not everybody always gets to, you have to kind of hone your skills a little bit to get used to it. But it would be personally generated content. So when I say personally generated, I'm not talking about, did you visit a taco truck on Saturday afternoon? Not Facebook kind of personal information, but I'm talking about information that you're uniquely creating. Here is an example. Chris had already mentioned that we got introduced through Jen Walsh at Genuine Shift. And she does a great job of posting her own user-generated content that is both business-oriented, but has some fun and her personality in there. So here's a post, and she's big into fostering dogs, fostering puppies, and she's kind of using that as an example on this particular LinkedIn post, and again tying it into her business. So as you think about growing your influence on LinkedIn, you can kind of think about these 3 steps. Start out with the training wheels. Okay, that is your company information. When you're ready to take the training wheels off, understand how to find and share that industry information. And then when you're ready to ride with no hands, you can start thinking about your own user-generated content of what you want to put in there. And that tends to be the real gold that strengthens those relationships, I'll tell you. All right, so that's posting content. Now, the flip side of posting content is actually reacting to other people's content or engaging other people's content. So there's actually 4 ways that you can engage or react to other people's content. The first way is a very light lift, very easy. All you're doing is clicking the like button, right? Could hardly be easier. The next thing you can do is actually think, engage your brain, come up with some kind of a comment that's going to add to the thread. And then the last 2 are actually both 2 different ways to share the content. And I'm going to jump back into LinkedIn and just show that to you guys. Let's see here. Let's come into, well, I will pick maybe something that Rachel has shared other than our webinar. We could pick this, for example. Well, this is something, oh, this is a nice one. This is a personal kind of a post. Well, I'll just use this. That's fine. So what I want to show in terms of sharing, so if I click this, then I'm going to share it with my network. Okay, so this is a social post. This is a social activity, which is going to make it go from me back out to my network. So that's a one-to-many share. And again, it's really more like sort of like an advertising kind of a share because it's going one-to-many. Okay, so that's sort of share type number 1. The other thing that you can do is you can actually share the information. You can send the information to an individual. So in this case, it's more like an email, a little bit like an email. So I'm going to send it directly, in this case, to Chris. So I'm connected to Chris. And you can see in this case, I'm going to say, you know, check this out. And so now it's a one-to-one message. So this might be if you're in a sales cycle or you're sending this to a customer, it's something you see. Now, in this case, it's just going to go to Chris as a single message, and we can reply back and forth privately, or I can share it back out to my network and it goes to everybody, more like kind of an advertising blast. So any questions on that? The sharing, the 2 different kinds of sharing is often a little confusing for people. Most people don't know about the second kind of sharing, which is the one-to-one sharing, where I'm just using the LinkedIn Messenger to send it privately to one person. So Dan, let me know if there's any questions in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep marching on. I think we're tracking, you know, right on time. We're all good. Okay, so we covered a lot here in 1 hour. Hopefully you guys saw some things that were new and that you think you're going to be able to apply to your business. So just as a recap, we have these 4 skill areas: your professional brand, finding prospects, growing your network of connections, and feeding with content. We had 2 in each one. So in the branding, we talked about having your headline, describe who do you work with, how do you help them, and then we talked about using some featured media to kind of jazz up your profile. When we got into the find and engage, we talked about looking at notifications for those trigger events that give you an opportunity to reach out to somebody you're connected to. And then we talked about the advanced search. You can do searching in free LinkedIn, no problem, but I just chose that opportunity to showcase LinkedIn Sales Navigator because that's the most sophisticated searching that you can do within LinkedIn. Then we got over into the connection. We talked about the more you expand your network of connections, the greater your chances of getting introductions. And then we talked about where those people are going to come from. We listed 10 different centers of influence that are usually, again, just kind of prompts for you to think about, oh, my current coworkers, past coworkers, trade associations I'm in, partners, referral sources, all of those different spheres. And then finally, we talked about the idea of sharing content with people to raise your visibility and credibility as a subject matter expert on employee benefits. We talked about 3 different types of content: company content, industry content, personal content. And finally, we talked about these 4 ways to react, whether you're just giving a simple thumbs up via a like, you're thinking of a comment, or you're sharing it with the masses, or one-to-one, sort of like an email. Whew, okay, we covered a lot there. Before I hand it back over to Chris, I'm going to give you guys, I told you guys that we'd give you guys a couple of resources if you want to know more. Certainly, you can connect with me. You can follow Vengresso. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Lots of free content coming out all the time. If you want even more than that, we've got 2 options. And courtesy of the difference card, you can actually save some money on these 2 different options. So if you are an individual, you're just listening to this now for your own benefit, and you're interested in learning more, we offer an on-demand course. It's totally self-paced. Log in, do it when you want. And it also gives you access to live group coaching every month. You can see there's a URL down there at the bottom. You could click onto that and you could use the discount code TDC100 to save $100. Again, all of this will be in the email when we send the recording in a couple of days. But if you're an individual and you're just thinking about your own personal book of business, that's an option. If you're part of a team or you're a sales leader, we have a program that's a little bit more comprehensive. It involves more live virtual training and coaching than just the on-demand course. And when we do that, that allows it to customize it for your business. So it's a little bit richer of an experience. It also includes the service to redo everybody's profile makeovers, like Chris mentioned that the difference card did. Again, a discount there if you guys mention the difference card to us. Best way to talk about that is just email me directly. Again, all that information will go out to anybody that's registered through the email. And Chris, with that, I am done, man. I'm going to send it back to you to wrap it up. And if we've got a couple of minutes at the end, we can take questions. Otherwise, we'll let everybody off on their merry way. But go ahead and wrap it up, Chris.
Thanks a lot, Kurt. That was amazing. I think we all learned a lot in that quick hour, a lot of great insight, and you can tell there's a lot more to learn too. So that's why the difference card engaged the Vengresso team, and we did and are continuing to do that training course. It's an ongoing process to learn more and more about how to sell digitally, and again, learn more about LinkedIn, and there's a lot there. So what we all hope to get out of this too is that you all will sell more business and write more health insurance companies and win more BORs by using digital techniques. And hopefully Difference Card gives you some of that content that you all can use to help catch a CFO's eye and get them interested in a way to save money, right? You need to share content, and we've got a lot of content to help you with. So if you are interested in learning more, talk to one of your senior consultants or sales consultants. If you don't have a sales consultant assigned to you, just email us at sales@differencecard.com. And then we'd love to work on some proposals to get started.
Well, let's consider that the official end. We do have a few minutes left. It looks like it's about 5 minutes on my clock. So again, we'll stick around. If you got to run, good luck, everybody. Make it a great week. If you've got a question, you want to type it into chat, we'd be happy to answer it.
We have a couple of questions, Kurt. One of those ones is what will be like the main difference between Sales Navigator and LinkedIn Premium?
Okay, so just to clarify for everybody, so there's I think there's just 3 versions of LinkedIn. Now, from a selling perspective, there's a couple others, one for recruiters and things like that. But so there's free LinkedIn, the one you get when you just sign up and create an account, free LinkedIn. There's kind of an in-between for pay one called LinkedIn Premium. And then there's their highest end solution called LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Just to put numbers on it, I don't know how much premium costs. A LinkedIn Sales Navigator is about $1,000 a year for LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So I'm going to guess premium is probably in the $500 to $600 a year range would be my guess. I haven't used premium for 8 or 9 years. A premium gives you, a few benefits above and beyond the free. Nowhere near what Sales Navigator does. So it's really just a matter of finding the one that's right for you, which I would say is primarily based on how much prospecting you're doing, how much, you're trying to build that book of business. In most instances, if you are trying to grow it, and you decide you're going to pay anything for LinkedIn, I would skip premium and just make the investment in Sales Navigator, to be honest, because it's probably about twice as much, but like 10 times more valuable from a feature set. So if you ask me my opinion, I would say if the free is good enough for you, that's fine. But if you're going to pay for anything, I'd go all the way to Sales Navigator.
Great. We have another question, which is from Nolan Slattery. It says, outside of using the allotted 100 invitations to have someone follow your company LinkedIn page, what do you think is the best way to grow your page?
I would say the best way is get everybody at your company active on LinkedIn. So make sure that they are. I mean, there's really two ingredients to that equation. One is that people are constantly growing their network, and that people are regularly sharing content. In the employee benefits world, probably one of the biggest pools of people where you could help grow your number of company page followers is through your account managers, right? So your account managers are not actively seeking business. They're taking care of the accounts, but they clearly have customer interaction on a daily basis. That's their main job. And so you definitely want to get your account managers aware of LinkedIn, growing their customer connections, and then sharing that content. And as people see the content that's being shared off your LinkedIn company page, some percentage of those will go ahead and follow.
Hey, Kurt, I'll end with one
Great.
more question, kind of a combination of a couple here. Is there a suggested cadence, like number of posts you do a week or number of hours that you should spend in LinkedIn on a daily or weekly basis?
Yeah, we definitely give some recommendations on that. I'll answer the second one first. The amount of time that you would spend on LinkedIn. Again, it goes back a little bit to how much you're prospecting and building your book. But let's assume that one is building their book of business. Then probably a reasonable estimate to target as you're first getting going is 20, 30 minutes a day on LinkedIn. What you'll see is that you'll start to have more success. Your network's going to start to grow. More people are going to be following you and reacting. And it might, then creep up into the 30 to 45 minutes as you get more results and success out of it. But that's the question to the time. The other question was, how frequently should someone post? Again, as people are just starting out, 2 to 3 times a week is fine. And if you just think about the combination of those, that might be 2 pieces of company content and 1 industry content a week. If you say, oh, our company doesn't produce 2 things of content a week, hopefully they're producing at least 1 a week. great. Then you could just fill it in with 2 pieces of industry news a week. So that, again, kind of a starting out. If you want to show up, start to create a presence. Those are 2 good metrics.
Great.
Well, Chris, thanks again for having us. Had a good time talking to everybody. And again, we will send that recording out in a couple of days out to everybody. And stay social and stay safe, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Kurt. Appreciate it.
Thanks everyone for joining. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
See you, everybody.